松坂佐藤さん、僕と付き合ってください。
Lol nigga, you are gay.
え？おい
Bitch! I'ma get up in that ass!
感情がキラキラ今はキラキラあなただけが全てさこの甘い世界嘘になるようなそれ以外のことなんて消してしまう
Hey people, today I'm going to be reviewing Happy Sugar Life. This anime follows the story of a pink-haired yandere psychopath named Sato. Being a psychopath, Sato has never really felt any particularly strong emotions or attachments in her whole life, apart from what she describes as bitterness. That being said, in order to fill the emotionless void that is her unfeeling heart, she spends her days sleeping around with random guys, searching for love that'll make her whole. But to no avail. However, one day Sato's path crosses that of a little girl named Shio, who suddenly causes Sato's empty cavity to be filled with sweet, sweet love. And thus the pair start living together in an apartment. Shio reciprocates Sato's feelings, although it seems that she too is fucked in the head. As for the longest time, you're just supposed to assume that she's an amnesiac Stockholm's kidnap victim or something like that, who for whatever reason doesn't really seem to care that she is one. And so, the story is that of Sato working multiple part-time jobs and heavily manipulating people in order to preserve her newly found
Lesbian
love, no matter the cost. So, you know, basically she kills people and stuff. Spoiler, I mean, I did say she's a yandere. I don't think I'm alone in this, but this idea was already a
non-sexual
turn-on for me. Aside from just having a huge grin on my face when watching stupid, over-the-top, crazy, or evil actions happening in anime, mainly due to their absurdity, or as I said, over-the-topness. Having a psychologically unstable and inherently morally wrong protagonist is something that I can vibe with. I find it interesting in its own right, but when a character like this is the main character of a show, I look forward to seeing what sort of messed up shit is about to happen. With the combination of that sort of main character and the fact that it's a work of fiction, it gives the creator every opportunity to show everyone just
how fucked up the ideas created in his or her brain are.
Being a main character, that also means that Sato, again, an actual psychopath, is going to be winning in at least a good portion of whatever conflicts come up. It's just super exciting and interesting. And also I like yanderes. Now, aside from just the mentally unstable lesbian couple, this show is filled to the tip of the dick with other, honestly, seemingly more mentally disturbed characters. Here's a list of a few of them. As it is, almost every character in the show is fucked up in one way or another, so I won't spoil the surprise by listing all of them, but, you know, here's a few. There's an aggressive stalker slash potential rapist of a teacher who turns out to be a horribly masochistic person, a rape and kidnap victim turned pedophile as a means to cope against his now overwhelming fear of older women, a woman who openly consents to physical and sexual abuse by anyone who knocks on her door, and some random unimportant lesbo who takes admiration for Sato to 3 levels beyond what is socially acceptable and 4 levels beyond being sane.
2 niggas kissing. This photo depicts 2 gay niggas kissing.
Happy Sugar Life makes its goal to make all of its characters unredeemable pieces of molding gum on the bottom of the shoe of humanity, and that just bumps up its entertainment value. Now I know that the way I've set this up so far makes it seem like this is a bad, therefore good sort of anime, but that's not necessarily the case. I actually find it legitimately quite decent. The main subplot, should I say, revolving Shio and someone looking for her is quite nicely done. The road bumps that appear for Sato in the story are presented and dealt with quite nicely too. Given the nature of the protagonist, you get the impression that by the end of the show she's gonna lose, you know, being evil, morally wrong, whatever. And this isn't just because of the flash forward at the beginning of the first episode, but again, you aren't too sure. While Sato generally seems to be taking the W in most upfront situations, a lot of times the side characters and the stuff going on in the background seem to be setting up to give Sato a small L or two every here and then. Maybe people come closer to finding out what she's really like, or where she is, if they're looking for her, you know, something like that. But then sometimes it doesn't work and gets resolved by Sato, or maybe someone else. While at other times, stuff happens without Sato knowing, it might cause the issue to slightly close in on her a bit more. I feel like the show's pretty good at setting up an interesting and not totally predictable course for the plot to progress. Of course, some people would naturally disagree, and I can see the reason for that too. How should I put it? I'd say this show likes to subvert tropes, but, you know, subverting tropes is cool and all, and I do like it, but I feel like the concept of subverting tropes has sort of become a trope at this point. Again, not necessarily a bad thing, but unexpected stuff kind of is expected too. Either way, if Sato's subversion and unorthodox side resolutions didn't happen, it wouldn't really be good for how they portrayed her character. You know, she's a cold, calculative, careful, and manipulative psychopath, so solving things in this sort of fashion makes sense for her. One big positive that I can give to the show is that the characters aren't fucking stupid. Sure, they're definitely insane, and that can cause them to have obscure judgment or show that they aren't really actually that smart of people, but absolutely retarded or dense decision making that characters in a lot of other anime do, just to push the plot forward or show another character off as cool or whatever, doesn't really happen here. You know those frustrating moments when immersion is like completely broken or your respect towards the show is lowered due to the sheer fucking stupidity of the characters? Here's the scene for Black Lagoon. I love Black Lagoon. These guys right here, are professional fucking mercenary killers. But they're so fucking brain dead that they let someone, an enemy, who's trying to murder them, somersault over from a speedboat to their own speedboat, taunt them while standing there unguarded in the open for a good whole 5 fucking seconds, whip out her pistols, and kill them all while they had their guns drawn and ready. So I really appreciate characters in Happy Sugar Life not suddenly turning into Forrest Gump for no reason. Hell, in one of the later episodes, don't worry, I'll be vague to avoid any spoilers, by using
genderless pronouns.
One character captures and threatens another to do
their
bidding. They comply and then is set free to go off and do this. The thing is, after being allowed to leave, any threat to his character is no longer there, as the person doing the threatening has literally no fucking power or resources to find him and do anything in an upfront way. So just following this order would be
yay.
So when the previously threatened character starts to go along and do what they were ordered to do, I got a little annoyed. Sure, the character, like all the other ones, is crazy and, in fear due to the danger they're in, and that could be attributed to the current subservient state of mind of the character, but it would still be really stupid not to realize that any threat was non-existent. Thankfully, the show was painfully aware of this because later on, after starting to follow the order given to them, they suddenly realized that they were not fucking do anything they were told to. Fucking thank you, there's no threat. Hold up a second, hold up. I still feel like this plot point was pretty contrived, since they forced this in a way that this character becomes a problem for the main character, and I could tell that the author was sort of struggling to push forward the story, also struggling to set this character up as a problem for the protagonist in a natural way. But I will defend it in that the actions taken by this character from that point on to the subsequent scenario are in line with how the character would act. So for that, I do offer some praise. Alright, well, now time for the visuals. So, Happy Sugar Life is a pretty okay looking show. The character designs and overall art is pretty good, particularly Sato's in a aesthetically appealing main character, so having her on the screen most of the time only helps the show, I think. Every character that's even so unimportant stands out within the context of the show. You can't really mix them up, and they're not bland enough to forget completely either. However, it really isn't anything special. The show doesn't really try to do anything unique. It has some cool visual effects here and there, but overall, there's no, high level of animation going on. And that's fine. They seem to have gone more of a overall consistency, and it sort of looks pretty polished. Happy Sugar Life is a very walk and talk anime. There's no dynamic action, so dynamic animation or super cool animated scenes that are much better than the rest of the show aren't really necessary for the show. And that's about it. There isn't really much else to talk about. I'd say it's pretty good. It's above, slightly above average.
In terms of animation.
One thing I do love about this anime though is the OP. Now, I'm not one for openings, I usually skip them most of the time. Even the first time watching an OP, I usually skip them. But this one hooked me. It sounds good. I mean, it's not particularly unique either. It sounds like it has the same J-rock guitars that half the anime openings that exist have, but I wouldn't subtract it from the show. Even if the OP was bad and I did skip it, that wouldn't really be a factor for me. But since I actually enjoyed listening to this opening of every episode, which is pretty rare for me, I'd say that helps the show a bit, at least for the enjoyment level that I received. Alright, and now for the bad stuff. Well, actually, I think the show is pretty well balanced in all departments. However, its problem lies is that it doesn't really excel anywhere. I wouldn't say it does anything bad per se, but nothing's really unique. Aside from the attractive pink-haired yandere, it doesn't do anything to put itself out there in the eyes of the people. I would assume that the horror and psychological tags would be pretty popular. Not so much as the typical shonen or sports anime, but it would still have a pretty big audience. I know people say Higurashi, Psychopaths, hell, even Another, I think was popular for a while. I could be wrong with that. But if you go to Kiss Anime and look at the views on Happy Sugar Life, and compare it to that of another edgier and objectively worse show airing alongside it, that's also sort of in this edgy, horror-ish
category.
You look at it, it's just really been avoided or skipped over by a lot of people. It has very little views compared to other stuff. And I'm not too sure why. There's Angels of Death that's airing this season. That's one of the more popular shows. And it has 5 times the views as Happy Sugar Life, although it's subjectively, pretty much a lot worse. I think that show's pretty shit. I mean, it's fun to watch, but it's pretty shit. And Happy Sugar Life, I think, is fun to watch too, but better. And that has way more views. I don't know why that's the case. I have a few thoughts on why. Maybe people are uncomfortable with the relationship of Sato and Shio since it's between someone who's about 16, someone about 12. I mean, yeah, it's weird, and people can be uncomfortable, but then I see anime like the Isekai Mao and the Master of Ragnarok, the shitty isekai anime this season, and they have weird, inappropriate relationships with characters, and those shows are popular. Maybe it's because those portray it as all joking while Happy Sugar Life's serious about it, and yeah, it's weird, but that's sort of the point. It's supposed to be unnerving and weird. Or maybe people just thought it was slow and boring based on the first episode or two. I don't know. Looking at the MAL average, even super loaded, relatively speaking, but the top 3 out of 4 reviews of it are all overwhelming positive, giving it an 8, 9, and 10. So I don't know what's going on with it. I feel like people just skipped over it without any good reason. I definitely think it's underappreciated. So if you haven't watched it or skipped over it based on just the aggregate score, I suggest you give it a try because it's actually pretty good. The average rating for it is a 7 on MAL, which is fucking really low. The anime that I give a 7 out of 10, I'd consider that a good anime. But I know for an average on MAL, that's pretty fucking low. I think one of the bigger problems with the show is that scenes can be slower paced. Like, I don't want to say problem, but some people don't like some really slow paced stuff, and this is a very slow paced show, which is okay, and I'm fine with it because it's entertaining enough. But I can see how some people see that the scenes are very slow. Saying is also sort of boring. It's just random city, Tokyo, part of Tokyo, nothing interesting. It doesn't change for the whole show. That could be a turnoff for some people. But my general opinion about it is that it didn't do anything bad, but it didn't excel in anything. And that's I think that's a big problem. Edit note right here. After watching the ending, I'm going to give it a few more points up probably because that was absolutely the most perfect ending that could ever go for the show. I had a huge shit-eating grin on the whole time. Anyway, so I find the show really entertaining. As someone who finds the fucked up interesting, I knew I was going to enjoy this from episode 1, whether or not it was bad, and I'm pleasantly surprised to say that it isn't. Now, the show isn't for everyone. I could easily see people interpreting all the craziness in this anime as an attempt to be as edgy as possible, and that's fine. There are definitely times when even I thought something was done simply for the edge, but personally I didn't get that feeling for most of the show. A lot of the show is definitely blowing up the craziness of the characters to insane levels, but not much of it is really trying to portray the craziness as cool, and that's what edge is. However, even if you don't feel that way, if you feel the show's stupid for the sake of it, I think you can still find some enjoyment out of it. Just watch and laugh as a bunch of edgy, cartoonishly mentally unstable characters go to extremes over their fetishes. Before I rate this, I'll let you know that my rating scale is a bit different. It doesn't just go from 1 to 10, it actually goes from -10 to 10, which I didn't steal from Jello-Ocalypse because I think it's a good ass idea. But basically, a show that I rate in a negative score is territory for so bad that it's good. Like, let's say the new Predators movie. It was fucking terrible, but that shit was funny as hell. I'd give it a -9 out of -10. Or The Room, to be an easy example. I'd convert people's feelings for that being like a -10 out of 10. That being said, I'm going to rate Happy Sugar Life a 7 out of 10. And that might seem a little low given how I've been addressing it, but again, Happy Sugar Life is good, but it doesn't really do anything too unique or memorable. Being decent or solid at everything isn't the same as being great. Despite the concept, it's a pretty safe show, and I thought this until the last episode for the most part, which just was really funny. It was really good to me, which bumped it up. I originally was going to give it a 6.5. Last episode bumped it up to a 7 for me, so I could consider the anime good. My enjoyment of the show was probably like an 8, but I like to rate stuff critically.
Because I am very, very gay.
Anyway, guys, thanks for watching my first review. I really appreciate it. I'm WaggsWood, or you can call me 4U, because, you know, WaggsWood, 2 W's, 4 U's. Yeah, whatever. And yeah, again, thanks for watching. This is my first video on this channel. I'm hoping to make a review style channel. I like talking about stuff in depth, so yeah, maybe I'll have games, maybe more anime definitely, other stuff possibly, who knows. But let me know what you thought in the comments below, and I appreciate any criticism. That's a big thing. Just if I did something really badly, or you think something was shitty or not funny, you know, whatever, just let me know. I want to get better at this. I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks.